Today, let us talk about Marco Polo. You know who he was? We all know about Columbus, right? Yeah, the one who discovered the USA, America. The one who inspired him was Marco Polo, an Italian. He was from Venice. Let me tell you something about him today. Marco Polo was probably born in Venice, Italy, in the year 1254, although some say he was born in Korčula in Yugoslavia and moved to Venice with his family when he was a young boy. His father, Niccolo Polo, was a merchant. His mother died as soon as she gave birth to Marco, and he was brought up by his aunt and uncle, since his father was a traveler, a merchant who would travel to faraway lands. Marco Polo was one of the first Europeans to visit China, and his journey inspired other explorers for years to come. Using his records, mapmakers were able to draw up new charts that included the eastern lands he visited, lands no one had heard of before. His book, called The Travels, is one of the most famous diaries ever written. Marco, on his way, would note down many of the things. He would even record each and every small and large thing that he encountered. Later on in the years to come, Marco described his travels to Rustichello of Pisa, who wrote down the book for him. Let us know something more about Marco Polo. But before that, let's find out about the port of Venice. Venice was a great trading city when Marco Polo was a young lad. Exotic goods from the East, such as precious jewels, perfumes, silks, and spices, strange animals, and rare foodstuffs, were bought here by ship, then traded throughout Europe. Venetian merchants had become rich and powerful. Venice was also a center of the arts, and hundreds of artists and craftsmen labored in its studios and workshops. Marco would have soaked up all of this along with the beauty and pageantry of the city. But he was a curious boy. We exactly don't know what kind of education Marco received, but he learned many of the basic stuff from good families that he came across from his travels, be it arithmetic, reading, or even philosophy. But do you know? Marco knew many languages, at least four of them precisely. He was intelligent, quick-witted, and had a brilliant mind for detail. He was also interested in people and other ways of life. Marco, like many other boys of the 13th century, could have played in the dockyards, but his dream was something different. He had heard about sailor stories, but he wanted to be rich and famous. So instead of just sailing, he opted to be a merchant, just like his father, Marco, and his uncle, Maffeo. Now let us find about the Polo's caravan. Marco set off with his father and uncle in 1271. You know what was his age then? Just 17 years age. First, they stopped off at Rome to find 100 friars of Kublai Khan had asked them for. Oh my god, I didn't tell you about Kublai Khan, right? Okay, let me take you back to Niccolo and Maffeo's adventure between 1254 to 1269. It was a trading trip. In 1254, Niccolo and Maffeo Polo left Venice to Constantinople. Yes, 1254, when Marco was born. Constantinople is a Turkish city, now known as Istanbul. Niccolo and Maffeo were searching for new markets and wares and bought and sold goods along the way. Eventually, they moved on to Russia and then decided to head back. But they found their route home blocked because of a tribal war had broken out. So they traveled southeast to the bustling town of Bukhara in Uzbekistan. Here they spent 3 years trading in furs, salt, wood, and slaves. They were also lucky enough to meet ambassador to the great Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan, who invited them to travel with him all the way to China. Niccolo and Maffeo here got their first chance to meet Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan ruled a huge empire that stretched from the Yellow Sea in the east to the Black Sea in the west. When the Polos arrived in Peking, Kublai Khan treated them as honored guests. In fact, he came to trust them more than he trusted his conquered Chinese subjects and went for them. He wanted them to find out as much as he could about their homeland. When they presented him with letters of greetings from the Pope in Rome, Kublai Khan politely asked them to pay his respects to the Pope and also get him 100 priests and some holy oil from the church. Kublai Khan had respect for all the religions. Whichever land he conquered, he allowed them to follow their own cultures and religions. In the same way, he wanted to learn about Christianity. When it was time to go, Kublai Khan gave the Polos a golden tablet, a passport, granting them 3 years of free lodging and food and guides for the return journey. Okay, now coming back to Marco. See, we have known the Polos were by now Kublai Khan's favorite aides. And after few years, when the Polos were ready with the 100 priests and the holy oil from the church of Holy Sepulchre that Niccolo had promised the Khan, they came over to him. Marco was a lively travelling companion then, along with his father and uncle in the year 1271. Everyone was impressed with Marco, how he would remember things, and by the way, he picked up foreign languages so quickly. The Polos travelled in a caravan of merchants and pack animals for safety and companionship. Now, let me tell you regarding the bloodthirsty bandits. The journey was hazardous from the start from the Acre. The Polos trekked south across rough and lonely routes, where bloodthirsty bandits lay in wait around every corner. Tribal warfare and plagues meant the travelers were in constant danger. Soon everything became too much to bear for the cowardly friars. They turned back, leaving the Polos on their own. In his diary, Marco wrote of the scorching hot winds that blew across the land. They were so fierce that anyone trying to cross the desert when they blew would have the moisture drained from their bodies until their skin burned and crumbled into dust. The Polos had to sit in water up to the necks to protect themselves from the heat, while they waited for the wind to die down so they could continue their journey. Thou dead traps. The Polos crossed the dry and dusty plains of Armenia and made their way into Persia, where Marco describes as a land of dates and parrots. Thinking they could save time by sailing from the Persian Gulf to China, they went down to Hermes Harbor, to look for a boat, but one look at the house moored there changed their minds. Held together with coconut string and wooden pegs, Marco said, they were death traps. One of the polos had to turn back and head for Cathay overland. You know what is Cathay? Oh my god, it's a present day China. Those days, travelers would call it the Old Silk Road. Let us learn something about the Old Silk Road and the treasures from the East. Merchants risked their lives to travel the Silk Road because the rewards were high. The exotic items they brought back from China and elsewhere were sold for high prices in their own countries, while the gold and silver and other materials they took with them fetched a good price in the East. Over the Silk Road to the west came nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves from India, perfumes from Arabia, rubies and lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, pearls from Baghdad, turquoise from Turkey, and silken brocade from China. Isn't it so beautiful the way he has portrayed his journey? Now, just wait for the part 2 of this famous Marco Polo. Herewith ending part 1 of Marco Polo. Bye bye. Thank you.